Welcome everyone to our first installment of our Career Chat evenings for 2025, where tonight we'll be getting down to business, talking about business. So, my name is Karen and I'm the Industry Partnerships Manager for Business and Engineering. I'm also joined by Michelle, who's the head of the Co-op Program, and some great panelists who I'll introduce later. We've had a surprise last minute guest, which is Gary Gregory, who's the Academic Coordinator for our business streams. So, it's a full house tonight. In terms of housekeeping, so this session, like all of our sessions this week, will be recorded. The links for all three sessions will be sent to everyone who's registered and to careers advisors, and will also be uploaded to our YouTube over the next few weeks. So don't stress if you miss something. You don't need to furiously take notes. There's also a Q&A box, so please feel free to include questions as we're going through the session, and we'll try and get through as many as we can at the end. Before we continue, I'd like to acknowledge the Bidjigal people who are the traditional custodians of the land we're coming to you from at the UNSW Kensington campus. I acknowledge that the Indigenous peoples of Australia have made and contribute and continue to contribute significant contributions to education and business practices long before any of us were here. I pay my respects to elders past and present and extend that respect to any Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander peoples who are joining us this evening. So, in choosing a career, you might ask yourself, where do I begin? You're at the point in your life where it's good to start thinking about what you want to do as a career. And taking this first step can definitely be confusing and or overwhelming, plus all the other emotions that come with that. And I remember these exact same feelings when I was in your shoes. For me, it was, what do I study? Where do I want to study? What am I good at? How does this translate to a career? And how does this fit into my own and sometimes my parents' expectations? But first things first, though, like making any decision or action, take a deep breath, shake or dance it out if you need, and try not to stress. We'll talk through 3 key tips when thinking about your careers, and I'll also share what I've learned from my own journey so far. The beauty of these tips is that they remain relevant no matter what stage you're at in your career journey. The first is to do your research and be a sponge. Figure out what's involved in a particular job, degree, or industry. Talk to people, learn about how they got to where they are, and what skills they think are important to succeed. Ask them lots of questions like what they wish they knew when they were in your shoes. When it comes to careers, there is no right or wrong. Developing a career path takes time, and you don't need to have all the answers now. Trust me, sometimes I feel like I still don't. Just remember to do what's best for you at that point in time, and remember you're never stuck. You can always pivot and change your mind. When it comes to choosing a career destination, there are always multiple ways to get there. When you look around at people's careers, there is rarely a linear line of progression. Think about how to best prepare yourself for the next step you're taking, whether that's forwards, sideways, or in a curly loop. Now, you're probably wondering, where do I start, or what are some things that I should think about? Remember, this is personal and will look different for each person. So think about your skills and talents. What are some things you're naturally good at, or what you've worked at being good at? There may be other talents that you have, but you don't just know it yet. So be curious and remember to give things a go. What are your values? So it's important to understand your values to figure out whether they align with the values of the work you want to get into or the job that you're going to be working for or the company. Remember, these can change as you change. I come back to this quote often because it's such great advice. But Deanne Stewart, who's the CEO of Aware Super and a Marketing 89 alumnus, said, choose the company, not the role. The next thing to think about is what is your interest? So, what do you enjoy or are you passionate about? Not what your parents or your siblings or your friends or anyone else is passionate about. You're in the driver's seat, so try and find out what interests you. If you're not sure, ask yourself what things are you drawn to, or take the time to figure it out. Don't be afraid of trial and error. Figuring out whether something is for you is important, but also figuring out whether something isn't for you is equally as important. The last thing to consider in this list that we've given, even though there's lots to think about, is opportunity. So, what influences can you draw upon? Who can you talk to get more information? Is there someone in your community where you play sport, where you volunteer or work that you can speak to? Did you meet someone who's inspired you recently? Did you read something that resonated with you? Be open to the opportunities around you and seek them out. So once you've asked yourself all of these questions, you'll have a lot of information to work with. So where to next? You'll need to find out more information, and the best way to do this is continue asking questions. We'll say this a lot because it's such a good nugget of advice. Lean on your network, talk to people about their experiences and the lessons they've learned along the way, and do they have any contacts that could help you with where you want to go? Get some life experience and get involved. Join a sports team, volunteer your time for a community group, apply for work, get some life experience, and gain some skills. While study is important, the single focus won't do you any favors in the long run. There's a big emphasis by not only the co-op program, but the companies that we work with around well-rounded people who can balance commitments, have a wide variety of skills, interests, and experiences. It's not just about whether you can do the job well, but who you are as a person. A variety of activities also looks great on applications, whether that's for jobs or the co-op program. It's a great way to learn more about you and will provide a great supply of stories and examples for you to showcase your skills, your interests, and your learnings. Also, seek out opportunities and just go for them. Don't wait for opportunities to come to you, but be proactive in everything that you do. Search for people you can meet and build connections with, learn new things to broaden your knowledge or to gain new skills. And most importantly, don't panic. You have lots of time and you don't need to have all the answers now. You are starting this journey early and may gain some advantages as a result. New opportunities might come up and you might change your mind or direction, and that's totally okay. It's normal, in fact. Take it from someone who's changed companies and industries. You don't need to make one ultimate career decision now. Remember, it's a journey, so enjoy it. So now you're at the next step of determining whether, so you're at the next step of determining that you do want to study business, but why at UNSW? I'm a bit biased as a UNSW Business School alumnus. However, UNSW is famous for having a top 20 worldwide ranking. It's the first rated #1 business school in Australia and is also has the most employable students. So then you might be thinking, okay, where can a business degree take me? There is a huge range of options across the different business streams. It's also important to know that you can start in one of these columns or areas and move between them or even off the page. I might just take a 10-second break just so you can digest the whole range of careers and roles possible. Alrighty. So now moving on to the exciting opportunity for you to hear from our amazing panelists. First off, we'll watch a video from Alice Tang, a 1995 accounting and business management alumna, who is the co-CEO at Amplify AI Group. You'll then hear from Blake Im, a 2019 data science and decisions alumnus, who is an analytics engineer at Airtasker. And then you'll hear from two final year scholars, Alina Rago, a 2022 accounting and business management scholar, and Jack Lane, a 2022 marketing scholar. So first off to the video, and let's see if technology is my friend tonight.
Hey everyone, my name is Alice Tang. I was a co-op scholar in 1995 and I did accounting and finance. I'm currently the co-CEO of Amplify AI Group, the Gen AI consulting company for financial services. I actually have 25 years of working experience, initially starting at Deloitte, who was the sponsor, and I also did my last industrial placement there. And then 16 years at Macquarie Group, and the last 7 as Chief Operating Officer of MA Asset Management. So how did I end up in accounting? To be honest, when I was finishing up high school, I have no idea what I was going to do, but I did receive some great advice that resonated with me. And that was every company needs financially literate people, and every business leader needs to know how their company is performing. And so that led me to choose the accounting co-op. As the Chief Operating Officer of MA Asset Management, I was leading a team of 55 people across products, fund operations, fund accounting, data and technology, client service, and risk management. So at that sort of management layer of responsibility, I was working with a team and aligning them with the strategy of the company. So that means looking at new product launches and making sure it fits our market research. It fits our clients' needs. Also working with the marketing team to communicate the benefits of the product within the financial regulations. And the data and technology team helped us build the infrastructure and also help us find the potential customers as well. So definitely a great role. And now that I'm running my own company, I'm basically doing a bit of everything. As my career highlights so far, probably two career highlights. The first one was I was working in Hong Kong with Macquarie, where I was part of a team managing 9 shopping centres. So a lot of fun in terms of understanding how a business or how shopping centres are run. I also helped to buy and sell shopping centres, so deep in transaction negotiation and also understanding the financial modelling. The second highlight would be my first in-depth technology project, which was implementing Salesforce for 1,200 investment bankers. I had a great team, and it was really fulfilling to see how technology can change people's lives. So, as you can see, none of that has anything to do with accounting, but accounting gave me the foundation. And my thinking and my advice would be to always be learning, try different things. It's okay to try something, but stick with it for a year. Make sure you give it a good go, and then see where that takes you. I think working with great teams, people that you can learn from, and then is actually the cornerstone of every career. So, and co-op has really opened doors, both with the network of friends that I've made, as well as the brand that it carries in the corporate world. So, definitely encouraged to apply, and I wish you the best of luck.
I'll take that as a win with technology being my friend, and I'll hand over to Blake.
Thanks, Karen. Thanks to the co-op team for inviting me back to speak today. Hope everyone's staying warm and toasty on a day like this today. But I'm here to share my insights and experiences going through as a co-op alumni. And I thought about, amongst current scholars and way more experienced alumnus like Alice before me today, what's the most value-adding thing that I can talk about? And it's probably how co-op program has helped shape my early career so far. So my name is Blake. I studied data science and decisions at UNSW from 2019 to 2022. And for any of you guys that don't know, I would explain data science as kind of a discipline where you combine maths, software engineering, and business strategy to turn data into valuable insights, and also sort of as an input to AI models as well, a more technical end. For me, in high school, I had no idea what I wanted to do as well. I think Karen laid a really good framework earlier today, where you think about your strengths, interests, and opportunities. And I think I tried to follow that very safely. And I realized that the multidisciplinary nature of data science, having that business lens, technology lens, but also mathematic lens really attracted me. And that's what I ended up doing. I just also want to disclaim that a lot of people get scared picking a discipline like data science. For things like have never coded before, as an example, that was exactly me. I've never written a single line of code pretty much before studying the degree, but that's what you do the degree for, you learn. So if you're unsure, but you're very interested, just give it a go. The degree will take care of it for you. So after university, now I'm in my third year of working full time. I spent the first 2 years of my career outside university at a startup called Laika, which was a pet wellness startup where our mission is to help our pets live twice as long as they do today. This year, at the start, I moved to a company called Airtasker, where I'm currently at, which is a trusted marketplace for people to get a work done and with people who are willing to do them to make some cash in a reliable manner. In both of these companies, my title, very analytics engineer, data analyst, but the work itself was pretty similar and broad ranging all the way from writing code to do some technical work to help with AI models, but also focusing on the business outcomes where we try to turn data into valuable insights for different people in the business to make decisions off of them. Just like the reason I chose my degree, I'm really enjoying the multidisciplinary nature of the role that I'm doing today. So I kind of wanted to share like 3 insights that I picked up through a co-op program that I thought was really valuable. I think the first thing is co-op program really helped me understand where I wanted to take my career post-university. So imagine you have somebody who's never tasted any food before, and you show them like a menu of all these different options of different food you can try. It's got photos, ingredients, description of the dishes and everything. Even though you have all this information, if you've never actually tasted different food before, you probably wouldn't really know what kind of food you enjoy. I think that's the exact same thing with work experience. Because you get to go on 3 different work placements through your university degree, by the time you graduate, you have a much better idea of what kind of role you enjoy more, what kind of team that you perform better at, and what kind of industry that you're more interested in. And with the 3 different placements that you get in co-op program, they're all so different. Coming into it, I kind of thought, hey, I'm studying data science. I'll just be doing data science things in 3 different companies, but it turned out to be so different from each other. For example, my first placement was at a renewable energy company. There I was doing work during COVID-19 lockdown to try and predict, hey, what would be the impact of everyone staying at home and shutting down all the restaurants on the impact of price of electricity. So that's the kind of work that I did in my first one. And the second one, I went to Westpac, which is one of the biggest banks in Australia. There I worked in a really large team to think about how she'll be thinking about personal data and in the context of using AI to help automate things like fraud detection for our customers. Finally, I went to JP Morgan, one of the bigger investment banks in the world, working in a small equity research team to think about, hey, what price should we rate these stocks at? So as you can hear, all 3 very different jobs, and it helped me inform what I wanted to do and what I enjoyed more. So even if you guys don't end up going through the co-op program, I'd really recommend during your university time to try and get internships, try and get work experience so that you can figure out what kind of career that you want to take. For me, what ended up happening was that I learned that I enjoy being in the details, both in terms of the technology and business, and also thinking about them from first principles. I enjoyed also having a bigger picture of the business and understanding, hey, this work that I'm doing, how does it actually translate into more strategic outcomes for the business? And I also like to pick up responsibilities early on. So this is why I went down the route of startups. This might look very different for you, but the point is the co-op program gives you the opportunity to find out for yourself what kind of career you want to take. Next point I prepared was the people that you meet along the way through the co-op program. I think this is probably the most iterated point that I've heard, even back when I was a student, about the value of co-op program. And now that I'm on the other side of it, I think it's very true. And it's not just about your peer scholars that you'll meet throughout the degree. It's also the people that you meet in the industry through your placements. If you think about the fact that, an average person early in their career probably switched their jobs 2-3 years, across 3 jobs, that could be almost nearly 10 years that it takes to rotate between 3 different companies. But through a co-op program, you're already doing that within your uni degree. So you'd be surprised how all these connections spontaneously find you in the world. I was just telling Michelle earlier before everyone joined that at my current company, Airtasker, the co-op alumni that I met in my first year camp 6 years ago was actually the head of the team that I was joining, which is just a crazy coincidence. We've never spoken to each other since the camp, but we still remembered each other. And now we catch up, and he's sort of become a really great mentor figure for me. So I think it was a really relevant anecdote that these network do go a long way. And, even more casually, I still catch up with my friends from my Westpac placement. Now it's more than 4 years ago, and we still catch up, talk about our work. Everyone's in different places now, but those relationships are still there. So you're getting that from the program as well. Final point that I'll touch on is this idea of like meta learning. So in the business and career world, things are changing so quickly. You'll never know everything, and you'll constantly have to learn new things as you go. So like 95%, I'd say, of the things that I do at work, university never really taught me. But that's not really the point, because if you think about it, when you do year 6 maths, you don't learn year 6 maths and suddenly you expect to be able to year 7 or year 8 maths when you go up. But because you learn those skills early on, you can learn the content in year 7 and 8 so that you can solve those problems. I think it's the exact same thing with a uni degree. The things that you learn in uni degree won't directly translate to your work, but those skills that you've learned and how to learn new ideas will help you pick up new skills that you need to do your job. So learning never stops. So don't be too scared if you feel like the things that you learn in university will dictate your career, because that's definitely not the case. Things are changing all the time. Things that you learn will be outdated, and you'll always have to stay updated. So what you should focus on is, pick what you enjoy and what will be relevant in the short term for sure, but try to focus and master the craft of learning itself so that you can always learn and stay relevant in the career. Those are sort of the 3 points that I wanted to talk about. But last one before I wanted to wrap up, if you're unsure what kind of degree you want to do, what I think a great thing you can do is a lot of American universities, they publish their lectures on YouTube for free. So for example, if you want to study accounting, you can search for an accounting lecture on YouTube, and you'll be able to watch a bunch of those lectures for free. So if you just want to get a bit of a taste and have a bit of reassurance before you pick your degree, I'd recommend doing that maybe over the holidays or something. That's everything. Thanks for your time today. If you have any questions, happy to answer them at the end. Also, maybe through Karen and Michelle, if they want to share my email or anything like that, also happy to help out where I can and answer more questions. Thanks, everyone.
Great. Thanks so much, Blake. I'm definitely going to use that food analogy from now on, and great to hear that you've had such a impactful sort of experience with the co-op program and beyond. Okay, so we'll now pass over to Alina to share her journey so far.
Thank you. So, as said, my name is Alina, and I'm a final year co-op student under the Accounting and Business Management program, and I double major in accounting and finance. If I quickly take myself back to when I was in your shoes, when I was in high school, and reflect to how I got here, I feel, to me, picking on what Karen was saying earlier, it was natural progression for me because one, I loved maths. I love working with numbers. I'm highly analytical. And two, I enjoyed business studies. I enjoyed learning how businesses are managed and how strategies are formed. And so from that, I chose Bachelor of Commerce and specialized in accounting and finance. And through my studies and through going through my placements, I've only grown to realize that accounting and finance is much more than the financial statements or more than ratios that you'll learn about. And I've grown to really appreciate how important accounting and finance is, and not only in businesses within finance, but also in how economies run. And so, yeah, I've grown to really appreciate what accounting and finance really does. And for example, in my first placement, I was at Sanofi, which is a pharmaceutical company, and there my role had two different parts. One of them was management accounting. So I was involved in creating daily sales reports, cost center reports, rebate reconciliations. But the other part of my role, I was involved in investment management. So I was involved in doing the due diligence for some transactions and was fortunate enough to also be involved in valuing divestments myself. So through this, especially being my first professional experience, it was very important for me to really learn the fundamental accounting skills. And as echoed earlier, it's through the co-op program where you get these industry placements where you can apply what you're learning in uni in real life. The second internship was at Westpac as well, but here I asked for something different because I do value that diversity. And so I was put into a team called Business Controls and Monitoring, which essentially means I personally supported the group CFO in their risk management and governance. So a major project that I worked on was on developing a group operational plan for the financial accountability regime, which in simple terms is a regime imposed by APRA and ASIC. And basically we had to demonstrate our compliance to it. What was the roles and responsibilities of the CFO? How are we going to monitor his performance? What policies did we have in place? But it was through this role where I not only developed my risk awareness and end-to-end thinking, but more importantly, I realized in this role that finance is much more than numbers. In this role, I dealt with no numbers at all, which isn't to say that it was a bad experience, but rather it was a really eye-opening and insightful industry placement because it helped me realize that the importance of risk awareness, the importance of understanding how regulations and policies play is very much important. And so that Westpac was a really great experience for me. Third was my last placement. I was at Coca-Cola Euro Pacific Partners. Again, my role was very different. I was involved in strategic financial management and more so focusing on reporting the financial performance of the drinks and advising the sales teams on how can we increase our volumes. And one specific project I'd like to point out is the Coke and Go machines. So if any of you have been to the domestic airport recently, you might have noticed some of the traditional vending machines have been replaced by these AI-driven machines. And so I was involved in advising on the rollout of these machines, tracking its performance, and advising on its rollout this year. So that has been really cool. And through this role, I was able to turn the accounting analysis, turn it from numbers to actual actions that the business can implement. And yeah, I've since been retained as a part-time analyst, and now I'm managing my own portfolio, which has been a great experience as well. Looking ahead, I will be starting my grad position at EY Parthenon next year, which is EY's strategy and consulting team. And there I'll be involved in the valuation modeling and economics team. So advising and valuing on the different capital growth strategies of clients. But tips I would give for students now is one, reflection. I think it's easy to view applications as a mere mechanism to show off what you've done, show off what you've achieved. Yes, that's very important, but I think a very key thing to stand out is reflecting, showing reflection. How have you learned from it? How has it developed to who you are now? What went well? What went bad? What will you do in the future? I think demonstrating ability to reflect shows that eagerness to learn and improve, which is what we look for. Second, and more generally, I would say is be open to opportunities, as both Karen and Blake pointed out. It's very important. And though cliche, you might have heard it everywhere, but to grow, you have to be able to challenge yourself and step out of your comfort zone. Like with a co-op program, you have to put your best foot forward, submit an application. And I think that's a very important mentality to have in applications going forward. For example, recently I was awarded the Australian Accounting Student of the Year. And so with that, you have to have the bravery to put yourself out there, confidence in your abilities and belief. And to back all that up, it's that diversity again in the opportunities that you've taken on, whether it was academic, work experience, or extracurriculars. So yeah, be open to any opportunity that comes your way. Show that diversity in your application. Show how you've grown from it. And yeah, I wish everyone all the best for those applying. But if you have any questions, again, there's Q&A later and happy to answer any more questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Alina. I love that reflection point, and it's something that I still love to do even this far into my career and hope to continue to do until I retire. And I'm glad you mentioned the Australian Accounting Student of the Year award because I noticed it wasn't on the slide and I was ready to bring it up. So thank you for that. We'll now pass over to Jack.
Beautiful. Thanks, Karen, and thanks, Alina. Hard act to follow, but I'll do my best. So I started in the co-op program in 2022 in the marketing stream, and I decided I wanted to go into marketing. It was actually started as my third preference of co-op streams that I wanted to apply for. I actually hadn't considered a career in marketing before I saw it was a co-op preference, and I thought, oh, I should put it something in the third preference. And then as I wrote my application and kind of reflected more about where I wanted to go in my career, I realized that marketing kind of had everything I was looking for. I really love creative work and strategic thinking. And I think most importantly, I really value thinking about deeply about human behavior and also about business behavior and how those things work. And I also really enjoy thinking about how we can use data and analytics to make better decisions as individuals, but also as businesses. So my first placement with the co-op program was at Colgate-Palmolive, and there I was interning in the brand management team, which was responsible for new product development and also advertising of products and the packaging of products. This was an awesome place to learn the ropes of marketing and also just how to operate in a white-collar environment, largely because it was a really, really familiar industry for me in that I used Colgate toothpaste. I was working on Ajax Spray and White, which I had used my whole life. So it was an awesome place to really learn the ropes in a friendly environment. Next, I moved to American Express, where I worked in their business-to-business customer lifecycle marketing team, which is a messy 6-letter acronym on my slide. And what that team did was it was responsible for retaining American Express business card holders by designing and promoting limited time offers. So basically, we'd partner with Virgin Airlines and say, if you spend $500 with flights on Virgin Airlines on your business credit card, we'll give you 10,000 points. And this was a really great placement for me at the time because I'd been taking quite a few marketing analytics classes through my degree, and this team was really analytically focused because every promotion that you run is a natural experiment. And it was a really great place to learn more about these tools that I was learning about in my class and apply them in industry. I also found something about myself through this placement, which is that culture in a workplace is really important to me. So in this role, I went out with my teammates for drinks, for dinners. American Express sponsors a lot of major sporting events and concerts. So I went to like Blink 182 with my team and Fred again and the Matildas. And it was really great. And I think I learned about myself that that's something I really value in a team. And that's one of the big benefits of the co-op program for me. Blake touched on this, but to get a really wide variety of work experiences at such a young age really helps you clarify what goals you want to set and where you want to go with your career. My third and final placement with the co-op program was at MSD, which is an American pharmaceutical firm. And I worked on Keytruda, which I must admit I'd never heard of when I started there. But it's actually the highest revenue pharma product in the world. So in the last year, it had higher sales than even massive drugs like Ozempic. So it was kind of the rock star of the pharma world. And within this team, within this business, I was in the marketing team, and my unit in particular was responsible for the sales and positioning strategy of this drug within a certain therapeutic area. And what I loved about this placement was that it was kind of a really great area to bring together everything I'd learned in my previous internships. So a lot of the things about product packaging and sales strategy that I'd learned from my time at Colgate, I was able to bring in. And then because there's really rich data from the pharmaceutical benefit scheme, I was able to develop kind of analytical dashboards about where the product was selling well in certain areas and certain territories, and also territories where it wasn't selling well. And I also got to work on some market research and even like develop sales strategy for a new indication launch that's happening later this year. It was really satisfying to see the skills that I'd learned throughout my degree, but mainly I think through the co-op program, through my co-op internships, be applied and come together in a really cohesive final way. And it was also just fascinating learning how the Australian health and pharma system works. Towards the end of my time at MSD, I transferred into a double degree. So I'm now completing a degree of commerce co-op and a Bachelor of Economics at the same time. And I really love that combination because economics is also about decision-making, and increasingly economics is about the behavioral side of decision-making and human irrationality. So those two go together really nicely. And so when I finished my time at MSD, I started another internship at the City of Sydney, where I'm working on developing and researching economic programs that the city can run to support innovation. Cool. I also just wanted to highlight here that the communication and business skills I'd learned in my marketing placements have been really, really helpful in my economics placements, and that I think a real value of this scholarship and that the internships that it enables you to have are that they help you kind of develop soft skills which are really transferable across industries and across roles. So with that, I might shoot back to Karen.
Thanks so much, Jack. I loved your point just around, the personal growth that you've had. For me personally, working in the program, it's something that I enjoy seeing students come through the program over the 4 or 5 years. So it's been awesome to see you grow. Alrighty. if my slides want to change. So while we're talking about careers and business and UNSW more broadly, we are the co-op program after all. So time for a quick sales pitch and overview of the program. So we are looking for high achieving and potential well-rounded students who are passionate about pursuing a career in a particular area or industry. In terms of what we can offer you, so students get up to 18 months of industry experience at 3 companies before graduation, networking and mentoring with current scholars, co-op alumni, and sponsor representatives, as well as leadership and professional development training to help prepare you for your placements, your career, and beyond, and also the financial support of 21,600 per year over the 4 years. And on top of all of that, co-op scholars also have a lot of fun along the way with lots of social gatherings, helping from friendships and networks that extend across the university. And as our alumni often tell us, like Blake did, these friendships last a lifetime. If you would like to apply, applications close on the 30th of September this year. If you're on the fence and you're not too sure, well, we hope we've convinced you, but otherwise, we still recommend you apply because you never know what will end up happening. Please check our website for more information, for key dates, how to apply, and also FAQs. So we'll now move on to Q&A with our panelists. The Q&A box is there, so please put in your questions, thumbs up any questions that you want answers to, and we'll try and get through as many as we can. For co-op program specific questions, I also recommend just jumping onto our website and reading our FAQs, like I said before, because they're FAQs for a reason. I think Michelle will help me moderate and get some of the questions.
I sure will if I find where my microphone is. Thanks, Karen. I'm going to go with the upvotes, but this first question is what ATARs did Blake, Alina, and Jack receive and achieve? And the earlier slide said marks are not everything. Karen, maybe just answering that from a what kind of ATAR do we look for in the co-op program?
Yeah, so to be successful for a co-op scholarship program, students need to attain at least a 96 ATAR, but also gain entry into the degree. So for most of our programs, it's the 96. For actuarial studies specifically, it is a higher ATAR. And last year, as an example, that ATAR was 99. But you also need to apply, need to interview, and also need to have that conditional scholarship offer as well.
Yeah, and I'll just add to that, sometimes students rule themselves out on the basis that, oh, I'm not going to hit that ATAR, or maybe I won't get that. And so they kind of go, oh, well, I just won't apply because I probably won't get that. The hardest phone calls we have to answer all year are the ones that call us after they've got their ATAR and say, oh my gosh, I got a 97, I got a 98, can I apply now? And unfortunately, that is too late. So you've got to keep the door open yourself. And then we kind of go through that ATAR at the end. The next question is, Blake, Alina, and Jack, what tips would you have for writing a good co-op application and doing well in the interview?
I could start it off. So tip I would give is, again, speaking to my point earlier, 2 points I would say is diversity. Show the unique experiences that you've undertaken. It might not be work experience. It could be just a school project. You don't have to be school captain or whatever. Just show any experience that you have, because what's most important, I think, is the reflection. What skills, what attitudes have you built from it? So yeah, showing diversity in your answers. Don't use the same example for all the questions, and showing that reflection. So yes, say what you've done, what did it involve, but go this step further and show what you've learned from it. How have you grown? And another point I would give is to also show what you can give back to the co-op program. It's a good point to point out the benefits and why you want to be a co-op scholar, but also emphasize what value can you bring, what unique value can you bring back to the co-op program. In terms of the interview, be authentic. It's very generic, but be very authentic. I wouldn't say practice answers in your head, because you will come off very robotic. So just, if you want, prepare examples that you have. What skills did you learn from it, so you can pick from it during the interview. But yeah, just be normal, be relaxed. It's a very two-way interview. But yeah, just be yourself.
Thanks, Alina. Anything you want to add, Jack?
That was pretty comprehensive, I think. Other than to stress the point of to be normal. It's really scary, I think, if you're in your interview, you're, 17, 18 years old, this might be your first ever interview. And that's a foreign place to be. And it's really easy when you're in a place that is that foreign and alien and kind of new, to put up barriers. But at the end of the day, you're talking on a computer to a human being. And they're going to value your humanness coming through. Yeah, so I just say be normal and try and not let the stress of that moment get to you if you are successful in getting an interview.
Great. We love normal. Whatever that looks like for you is what we love normal to be. Blake, anything that you think we need to add there?
I
Either
think on
writing or
application,
interviewing. Sorry.
yeah, no, that's all good. Yeah, on application, I remember asking for a lot of feedback from people around myself, whether it be from your family, your career advisor at school, maybe seniors in your high school who's graduated, and actually some of them went on to receive co-op scholarship offers. Those kind of feedback I really valued. Obviously, everyone's going to have their own opinions, but you need to decide what to take on and what to filter out. But yeah, getting that feedback really was eye-opening to me because I don't know what I don't know. To Jack's point, you're like 17, 18, maybe you never have written an application this comprehensive before, and that was certainly the case for me. So getting feedback from them was really, really helpful. That's all I'll add.
Great. Thank you. The next question is, do you have time to work part-time during the degree? And if so, if you do, is it too overwhelming? Is there a work-life balance? I'm happy to answer this one, actually. So I suppose the question is, do you need to? And what are you hoping to get from working part-time? So the fact that there is a scholarship that supports you is designed to hopefully allow you to focus on both your studies and your placements, so that you've got that financial support there to help you. Now, absolutely understand that the cost of living in Sydney is a real factor, and some students do work part-time. We really strongly suggest that you think about it logically, like let yourself get your feet on the ground as a university student. Don't take on ridiculous amounts of hours, kind of a maximum of 2 days per week. But if you're taking on a full-time course load in a second or third year kind of level, you don't want to be like splitting your focus so much that all you're doing is trying like a mouse on a treadmill, right? You want to be able to get the value of the degree that you're paying for, get the value of the placements that you're engaging in for your future. So, there is a little bit of, I don't know, just nuanced thinking around, is working part-time a necessity? If it's a necessity, can you, is it something that you can do in short blocks to help support you through term time? Or is it just to add to the car fund, the holiday fund, the fun fund? And if that's the case, then probably not the best idea to be taking that on. I think we've done that one. On the website, it says conditional offers come out on the 11th of December. Since this is before IB results usually come out, are only the results of school-based reporting on mock exams considered in this case? Karen, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, of course. So the conditional offer is based on your like ATAR or equivalent, so your IB results. Just because IB comes out a bit later doesn't mean we say, nope, sorry, too bad, too sad. So if you are doing the IB and you have a conditional offer, your conditional offer will stay in place until we can confirm your results. While we also have that second question below that around the 96 ATAR, and is that a hard cutoff? It is, but it is sort of your raw mark plus EAS. So we don't take into consideration any other sort of bonus points in that respect. Anything I missed, Michelle?
I'd just probably add pathways. So if you are at a gateway school, an Indigenous student, or fall into a gateway classification, then there are some more flexible alternate pathways to come into the program. You're still applying via the regular co-op application platform, and you're still interviewing. So all of those pieces remain in place. It's just a little bit more flexibility in terms of the ATAR or equivalent. And there's more information on that on the website if that particular circumstance is yours. So the next question that we've got there, so that one is done. And how likely is it that I would be able to add a second degree to my co-op marketing scholarship, assuming I maintain good grades? Well, it's possible. Jack's doing it. How likely is it? So you will see it's definitely possible if the double degree exists, if there's a way for us to be able to accommodate that within the university framework, it is possible. That being said, there's some degrees where a double with co-op is not possible. So it is on a case-by-case basis. You'd be coming into the single program. You would be starting off in the area that you've got the scholarship in and the sponsorship in. And then we want to make sure that, it's a good move for you, that you've got your feet on the ground, that you're comfortable with the study that you're doing, and that you are actually interested in the area that you're being sponsored in. So it's usually after your first year of study and your first industry placement that we'll have that conversation with you. Some students come in with a really strong, firm idea that they want to do a double degree, and then they get started in the degree and they go on a placement and go, yeah, no, actually I'm good. I can pick up a second major, or I can get exposure to the other area that I'm interested in through my placements, so I don't necessarily need to. So it is on a case-by-case basis, definitely possible. We've got a number of students who are in doubles at the moment, but just depends on what those doubles are. I am going to go to, do you have to be a school captain to get a co-op scholarship? Karen.
You do not. And it is something that Alina said as well. So like we said earlier, we are looking for well-rounded students. From reviewing applications, we see such a wide variety of activities and extracurriculars. And just because you're not school captain doesn't mean we throw you off the list. You can get lots of skills, experience, leadership, teamwork. All of those skills and interests can come from a range of things, whether that's part-time work, volunteering, playing in sports. So I think we're just looking for students who, have gone out and done things.
Beautiful. There's a question here about in this current co-op scholars in this ever-evolving educational landscape. I love this, Jordan, not lovely writing. What's some advice you'd give to your younger self to better prepare for the challenges within the program? Jack, do you want to start? You're right in front of my screen. I'm going to go to you.
Yes, perfect. I think that I would probably say the best way to prepare for the challenges of the program are by doing things that are outside of your comfort zone before you enter it. So resilience is a muscle, and doing hard things requires resilience. So if you can, I think going into a company as a young person for the first time is quite a difficult thing. But if through your extracurricular activities, through your sporting stuff, through volunteering, you can kind of get used to being in places that are kind of different, foreign to you. That's a really great way to prepare yourself for the challenges of entering the young workforce as a young person.
Great, thank you. Anything to add, Alina?
Yeah, echoing Jack's point, I think to the second paragraph, I think it's to each your own. If you do want to relax and take on that approach, by all means. However, if you do want to grow in this ever-evolving landscape, you do have to take initiative to go on different programs. It doesn't have to be specific to an industry like Excel, but it could be like your hobbies, like Jack pointed out. If you are doing sports, that's also very important. Develops that teamwork skills. So yeah, I would say keep being busy is that's how I approach things, but keep being busy. It doesn't have to be intense things, but yeah, it will be helpful in helping you develop those skills, especially if you do get into co-op, having to balance work and study at the same time. So yeah.
Thank you. The next question is, I was wondering if the order of our program preferences matters when you consider our applications. Would you consider someone who has put a program as their first preference more than someone who has it as their second or third? Karen, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, of course. So when reading applications, we will consider your application across all the preferences you put. So some students might only put one, some might put two, and some might put all three. I think if you are looking to go down that the 2 or 3 preference route, it's also just making sure that you've clearly articulated in your application why you're interested in those areas. Like Jack said, he had marketing as third, and he's a marketing scholar. So we do consider it across all 3 preferences.
Thank you. And just while you're there, what percentage of co-op alumni work at one of the companies they worked at on graduation? What's the likelihood of being offered a job at one of the co-op partners?
So that depends year on year, but it's probably around the 70 to 80 mark, depending on the year. So coming into a co-op scholarship, there's no guarantee that you'll get a employment offer, and from a sponsor perspective, there's no obligation for them to offer it to you. But the beauty of this program is that it's been running for 37 years. We have such an expansive alumni network. A lot of my industry contacts are co-op alumni. And so, stream dependent, we've seen a lot of students end up at sponsor companies. Or if they don't after graduation, they end up moving into a company that sponsors or become sponsors themselves.
So many options, so many options. This is an interesting one. Can you provide me with reasons why I should apply for co-op instead of other scholarships, for example, from UCID or the University of Melbourne? I'll start off. If anyone wants to chime in, feel free. Gary has I'm going to throw to Gary. Gary, do you want to jump in on this one?
Thanks, Karen, and Michelle as well for explaining. No, it wasn't about this one. It was about the last point that Karen was making about preferences, and I just kind of want to put kind of an asterisk to that. I think it depends on what discipline you're applying for. For example, in finance, we get hundreds of applications, and we'll get 120 first preference ones, of which we'll only screen 30, 40 of them. We'll look at second and third, but it's less likely. Marketing is another area where it's more likely that we'll go to second and third preference and look at equally across all 3 of those. So it probably depends on the area that you're applying to and the demand and the number of applications.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely true. I think the question that you need to ask yourself is, are you actually entering as preferences? Is it actually your preference? Is that really where you want it to be? So that is really important. In terms of your preferences, in terms of scholarships, and whether it's UCID, UniMelb, or UNSW, number one, it has to be right for you. So I can't give you the best reason why you would come here. I think there are a myriad. I love working here. I'm not an alumnus of this university, but I think I have been to world conferences around cooperative education and work integrated learning, and what we have and what we do is incredibly unique. I think the community is phenomenal. I feel incredibly lucky to have met so many of our alumni. I mean, we've been running for 37 years, so I haven't met them all 3,500 of them, but they're amazing people who aren't just great at their technical skills. They are great humans. For the most part, again, I haven't met them all, but also interesting and interested. And I think that kind of community, those kind of people, yes, the scholarship's great. The experience is fantastic. There might be other ways that you can package that together, but I think the community is something incredibly special. Gary, did you want to add to that one as well?
Yes, I did. Thanks, Michelle. It was kind of also along the lines of, when you do pick an area that you are applying for, and I know in co-op that if you apply for, accounting, finance, anything in the business streams, you submit one application and you may pick finances first, marketing as second, whatever your combinations are, but you've got to try to convince us that that's your real passion. And so it's hard to do that when you pick a second and third preference, because then you're like, well, shouldn't I emphasize more on my first preference? So just be very clear in what it is that you want to apply for. Be convincing as to why you're so enthusiastic about the area, because it is difficult picking. So, but once you pick, be committed.
Thanks, Gary. Any other reasons why New South and the co-op program in particular from our wonderful Blake, Jack, or Alina?
Yeah, I'll go. I think a big one is just that it's quite a competitive program to get into. So I think they get hundreds and hundreds of applications every year. Only a very small amount of those people actually get into the program. And so what ends up happening is you have a bunch of really smart, engaged, and like social skilled people. And I think if you are a first year entering the university environment, being able to make friends with those people is pretty cool. I'm from interstate. I moved to Sydney for university without knowing anyone. And I instantly had like this awesome community of people to be friends with, and also to inspire my professional growth. So that's a really great advantage of the co-op program as well.
Thanks, Jack. Okay. I heard this from some uni students, but I don't know if this is right. When on placement, you don't get as much money as they already give you the scholarship money. It's an interesting question. I think what you're asking is, are you paid in addition to the scholarship when you're on placement? No, co-op scholars receive a scholarship from the day that they commence at UNSW in a fortnightly stipend, whether they are studying or on industry placement. So there is not a discrepancy. There's no difference in the amount that you receive when you are at uni and when you're on placement. But I think one of the great things there is your first industry placement, and this is no disrespect to any university student, but our scholars go out after just 1 year of study. So technically speaking, they don't have an awful lot to contribute. And that first placement that they're on is more about what they're learning than what they're able to contribute technically to an organization. There's not a lot of organizations out there who would hire you in the technical capacity that our students are able to engage with in their first industry placement. So, you know, the belief that our sponsors have in scholars in the program and the trust that they have means that they're willing to support the scholarship from day one all the way through to graduation, which I think is great. So I hope that's answered that question. I realize the time, we've got quite a few questions. I'm going to speed through a few. What do sponsors or UNSW look for in applicants? I think we've spoken about that a little bit already, but the reality is we're looking for your authentic self that highlights a passion and an interest in the areas that you're applying for. So we're not looking just for school captains or captains of the football team or debaters or, you know, model UN students. We're looking for students who kind of go, this is who I am, this is what I love, here's what I've learned from it, and here's why I think that's relevant, and here's the skills that I've developed. That some of the most interesting applications I've read are from students who highlight something that didn't go well for them in their application process. And as Alina kind of alluded to before, that reflection on just understanding what the steps were, what they might do differently next time, being able to like reflect and articulate that is sometimes even more valuable than going, hey, I've won all of these awards, aren't I cool? So don't rule yourself out. If it's something that you're interested in, you should definitely be looking at, again, as all of our speakers have said tonight, who are you and why do you want to be here? That's really what's most important for us. Do you get to choose which placement company you go to? There's a pool of sponsors sponsoring a pool of scholars, so you get to put in placement preferences. There's always going to be some companies that shine a little bit brighter in the eyes of 17, 18, 19-year-olds, not going to lie. So, you know, sometimes all scholars will put one company as their first preference, and our wonderful academic coordinators, like Gary, work with our industry partnership managers like Karen to kind of look at at the pros and cons and look at the stage of development of different scholars and work out what's the best learning opportunity for that scholar and how to balance that placement, that first placement against their second and third placement, because our aim is to make sure that you get diversity of experience and exposure so that you can start to answer those questions that Blake was talking about before. What do I enjoy? Where do I want to go? Where do I see my future? So that's kind of our focus there. I think we've done that one. Whew. A couple of these questions are answers are on the website, so I'm going to skip over those. The list of degrees that you can apply for co-op, those are on the website. You can look under the programs pages, and it's got a full list there. Do you always have an internship? Do you start one immediately when you start the degree? So the timing is dependent on the stream that you're in. You'll always have at least 1 year of study before you're going out on industry placement. We're not quite that mean. We don't throw you all the way in the deep end, just the medium deep end. So you've got a little bit of study under your belt. You've got a little bit of technical knowledge. And you're going out to your first industry placement. For all co-op scholars will be in their second year, whether it's at the beginning, middle, or end of their second year. And then you come back, you do some more study, you reflect on what you've learned on your placement, and then go out for your second and third IT placements later in your degree. So the timings, again, also on the website. Is the interview after the application offer round online or in person, Karen?
So we try and hold all of our interviews in person. So it's Wednesday, the 25th or 26th, 26th, I think, of November. It's on our website. But we do understand, there are some students who are interstate or overseas. So there will be a process to apply for an online interview. But the aim of the game is to have you in person. We find that those interviews flow better and, you get more out of it. I might, as I'm looking at the questions, Michelle, did you want to add anything?
No, I was just going to say the other thing is the sponsors are here in person for those interviews. So when a CEO, a CFO, a COO, a CTO is giving up their time, like to work out whether you're a good fit for the program, your best bet is to be in person for that interview and impress them the way that you can much better in person than you can online. Thanks, Karen.
No, I was just going to say, because we have Blake, Alina, and Jack, I think a question here was around what kind of support or mentoring did you get through the program?
I could start it off again. So as part of the co-op program, you are paired with a mentor who was previously a co-op scholar. So for example, I have a mentor who was part of the accounting co-op and is currently working at Westpac. And so I regularly do interact with them, especially in this lead up to choosing grad positions and whatnot. And so yeah, it's a really good opportunity to lean on them, get their advice based on their experience, but as well, there's also support through the co-op program themselves. I do reach out to Karen, Michelle, Sam, Gary a lot of the times, asking just general questions about whether it was academic-wise or career-wise. But yeah, there's a lot of support there. Your own peers, you can bounce off of each other. But yeah, there's your own internships. You will build those relationships with your supervisors. So again, you can build mentor relationships through that sense. But yeah, if Jack has anything else.
That was great. The only other thing that I would add to that is that as a part of the co-op program, they pay for you to go on a 3-day-long leadership camp, which I found a really beneficial experience. They drop you out in the bush, in the middle of nowhere, and get you to do these really hard challenges, which really pushes your ability to work in a team. And I think made me a much better team operator as a result of that experience. So yeah, a lot of support within the program, in addition to what Alina said.
Great, thank you. Blake, did you want to add anything?
No, nothing I can add otherwise.
I'm looking at you, Michelle. Should we do one more question?
Yeah, no, sorry. I thought you were taking over the questioning. All good, all good. Okay. Sorry, I was answering a couple in text. How many scholarships are offered each year? This is a really difficult one for us to answer because each scholarship that we're able to offer is on the basis of a sponsor company coming on board. And so between now and when those when the interviews are happening, we're speaking with our industry partners, our current industry partners, some exciting industry, new industry partners that we are talking to around whether or not they want a sponsorship for the year ahead. Because keep in mind, those scholarships are for 4 years. So a sponsor is sponsoring for 4 years, not just every a year. So each year those scholarship numbers can fluctuate a little, and the main point, I suppose, is it's really hard to get a scholarship if you haven't applied. So it's actually quite impossible. So if it's something that's of interest to you, I might have said it before, I am saying it again, apply. The worst thing that can happen is that you get some experience. I mean, Jack spoke a little bit about the fact that he didn't really know what marketing was about, or that whether it was something that he was interested in until he kind of started the application process and thought, because we do ask some questions that make you think, so thought a little bit further about the kind of careers, and that really kind of opened his eyes a bit more to what marketing was. Blake, did you have something you wanted to add there?
Yeah, just last thoughts from me on the point of applying. I think you guys mentioned that it's UNSW Co-op Program, quite competitive. Only out of hundreds of applications, maybe a handful will get through to interview or getting an offer. But guys, what I realized leaving university is job applications and the caliber of companies that you guys are going to get with the sponsors is even more competitive. So you think maybe getting in that 1 out of 50, 1 in 100 is competitive. Couple of job ads that I've posted since leaving university, we have to pick 1 out of 1,000 applications. So it might seem scary now, but I would really encourage you guys to give it a shot because it really is a valuable experience. And I think for a lot of students, you don't quite appreciate how much of a privilege this opportunity is until it's too late. So that's the only thing I'd say.
Thanks, Blake. We've got a couple of questions here just around application for other scholarships, whether you are from interstate, rural, regional, remote areas, whether you go to the school in Randwick, which is, a 5-minute walk away. You can apply for as many scholarships as are relevant to you and your circumstances. There are some that can be combined with co-op. There might be some that can't be combined with co-op. The great thing is you apply for them, we offer them to you, and then you can make that decision. From a co-op perspective, so long as you're able to meet the obligations and the requirements of the program, i.e. going on your placements and meeting the academic requirements and maintaining full-time progression, then we're fine for you to hold another scholarship. It might just be some limitations on the other side. So my very strong advice is you should absolutely be applying for everything that's relevant. You can't defer a co-op scholarship if you choose to go on a gap year, if you choose to apply for university and then go through the process even for co-op and offered the scholarship. You can't defer the scholarship. You can defer your university offer if it's for anything other than a co-op degree. But from a co-op perspective, if you come back to us in a year later and say, I'm still really interested, I've had this awesome year traveling or, working in a really cool place in remote Northern Territory, and I've learned so much about myself and I'm still really interested in co-op, that's actually really valuable. And we actually certainly don't have any issues with that if you decline the scholarship and come back the following year, so long as you haven't started your university study. You can't decline the co-op scholarship and take a year and then start university somewhere else and still apply. I think
maybe while you look, I think there was one about, if you don't end up being successful or getting into co-op, so I'm personally a bit biased. I love co-op. It's a great program. But if you don't get through through the usual timings, that from time to time we might have replacement scholarships that are open, once you're in At UNSW, we also have one-off internships, which are 24-week full-time placements open to second to fourth year students also at UNSW. But also outside of the program, UNSW has a whole range of offerings, whether that's through, short courses or, other internships or placements. We have our employability team, we have Career Accelerator through the business school, we have the engineering industry training sort of team. So there are so many opportunities available to students at UNSW, but also, I guess, on the society side as well. There are so many student societies who do so much around career fairs and experiences that it's just, there's so much.
Yeah. I'm going to answer very quickly, 3 things that I see here, which I think would be helpful for everybody. There's a question around, is it mandatory to do volunteering during your degree, or do you just do the placements? There's no volunteering requirement. A lot of our scholars do volunteer, but there's no requirement for you to do that. One thing that I think is really important is, what's the distinction between co-op and cadetships? There's a lot of different names for ways to gain practical experience while you're studying. Cadetships is one. The difference from co-op and most cadetships, and obviously I don't know all of them, but one of the key differences is what I mentioned before around us trying to give you broad and varied experience in the sector that you're studying in. Whereas a cadetship will be with one organization and you will be working with them, with that particular organization, and getting a really great insight. Don't get me wrong, cadetships are awesome too. A really great insight into that particular organization, but I see the real value of co-op being that you're able to just see different organizations, big, small, work in different teams across different sectors, and actually see what suits you the best, because we're all very different. We like different things. We click in different ways, and that can be really, really valuable. And the last one that we'll probably answer here, I think I know there's more questions there. We can't get through them all, and I do apologize, but a lot of the other answers are on the website. If you go and take a look at our website as well, you'll find a whole bunch of information there. But this last one is for any year 10 students. What opportunities or steps should I take to help my chances of becoming a co-op scholar? And I love the fact that Jack, Alina, and Blake kind of all spoke to this. It's really around, finding out who you are outside of the classroom, getting involved, like doing some things, finding out if that's you, maybe reflecting on it, and then maybe doing some different things. There's no one thing that we're looking for. One of the biggest things that you could do for yourself is to get to understand yourself a little bit more. It's a hard thing to ask because you're being exposed to a whole bunch of things and maybe seeing some things for the first time when you go into year 11 and 12, but don't stop your extracurriculars. Maybe you need to pare back. If you're doing 20 different things and going into the HSC, that might feel a little overwhelming. So really think through what it is you're going to continue into your HSC years, why you want to continue those things. I know I hate to sound like the old lady in the room, but like, what goals do you have for the things that you're going to continue doing? And why that over something else? Because there are, and I say this to the scholars all the time as well, there's only 24 hours in the day. You cannot do everything at the same time. You might need to work out whether something is a now, a later, or an in the future activity. And that in and of itself is a pretty excellent learning. So I'm going to hand back to Karen to wrap up.
Thanks so much, Michelle. So thank you everyone for joining us tonight. I hope it's been helpful in navigating your next step, or just helping you feel a little bit less stressed and overwhelmed. A reminder that we will send everyone who's registered a link to the recordings, also to the careers advisors, and they'll also be uploaded to our YouTube. Have a look through our FAQs, like Michelle said. If there are anything or any questions that you haven't or hasn't been answered, also feel free to reach out to us through our email. But otherwise, if you don't already, please follow us on our social media platforms, especially Instagram. It's where we showcase our scholar experiences and achievements, provide tips on applications, and highlight our co-op events. But thank you to our panelists, and thank you for joining tonight.